Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
Wow, what a basketball game. Flagrant Howls live from Target Center. The DJ is rocking right now. People are trickling out of this arena. Phil Mackey, about, 8 feet to my left, is Judd Zolgad, the sports dad. We got executive producer Declan. Kyle's voice just absolutely melted from traveling. So we're going to give Kyle the night off here. We sat next to Kyle all night, but a 116-113 win for the Timberwolves over the Lakers. A 10-point comeback, another signature Anthony Edwards game. We're going to talk about everything. One of the great basketball games in probably Timberwolves playoff history, but let's start out with a shout-out. There's a watch party coming up, Dex, for Game 5 as this momentum continues to build.
That's right. Wolves in 5. You can start that Wolves in 5 chant from now until the watch party that Heather is throwing from our friends at Wolves Realtor on April 30th at 9 p.m. So they're Heather and her husband Darren, they're going to be live from the Savage Tap in Savage, just south of the Twin Cities there. So if you're in the South Metro, so Prior Lake, Burnsville, Shakopee, Lakeville, you can go hang out with them, watch, and go to wolvesrealtor.com. Bring your wolf, because dogs are welcome there too. So you can bring your dogs, and should be an absolute blast. So if you're looking for a place to watch Game 5, the Savage Tap, Flagrant Howls listeners, go check out and hang out with our friend Heather and Darren. And go to wolvesrealtor.com for any of those real estate needs as well, buying a house, selling a house. The Savage Tap for a Game 5 watch party.
Love it. Judd, I'll just throw it right to you, man. We've kind of been running each of these post-game shows through the filter of biggest takeaway, favorite things, least favorite things. So what was your biggest takeaway from a Game 4 victory by the Timberwolves?
I think it was for a second consecutive game now, both back-to-back Friday and Sunday here. It's clutch time. Clutch time. The Timberwolves were atrocious during the season in clutch time. They melted down. They did the wrong things, and they now have come back. So when the 5-minute mark hit, and clutch time is 5 points, correct?
Yeah, it's a 5 and under and 5. It was 104.99, I think, right? It
was 104.97, and then the clock came down to like 4:57, and Nas hits that shot, and it sort of just sparked this team. And then to your point too, Ant. It's funny because I think the national perception of Ant is, this guy can really score, but the rest of his game, and he was facilitator Ant, he was scoring Ant. But this team really, if you're ever going to show maturation, while I would like it to be against the Hawks in January, that would be nice. I'm going to take it far more as a very serious show of the strength of your team this time of year in the playoffs against the Lakers. So my biggest takeaway for the second consecutive game is in clutch time, this team was absolutely huge. Ant led the way. Nas hit some huge shots. Chris Finch did a very good job as well. So very impressive that a team that couldn't get out of its own way in the crucial moments of games in the regular season has now gone back-to-back in front of a raucous crowd and won games in part by being so good in that time.
Yeah. I think, man, there's so many things we're going to get into here for however long we stay live. If you haven't already, by the way, welcome in, and please click that subscribe button on the Score North YouTube channel and the like button. Help us keep growing this thing. Flagrant Howls, such a fun community of Wolves fans. I think my biggest takeaway is very much narrative driven and 30,000 feet. And that if you go back to a year from now, Anthony Edwards has been on like a 13-month mission to take over the NBA's pecking order of players. He's not there yet. Beating Jokic in a series does not put you above Jokic in the pecking order, but he spent last April and May ending Kevin Durant's season, ending Devin Booker's season, ending Nikola Jokic's season. Okay, you run into the Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. Maybe you leave that series thinking not quite on Luka's level, maybe not quite on Kyrie's level when he's healthy and he has more playoff experience. Let's go back to the lab. Let's work on a couple things in the summer so that when I meet these guys again, if I meet these guys again, I've got a new bag. He spends the entire summer becoming the best three-point shooter in the NBA. he starts unleashing that on the Lakers in this series tonight, dagger after dagger from the three-point line. And now they are one game away from him adding LeBron James and Luka Doncic to the list of Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, and Devin Booker from last year. So they have to close the series out. So the series is not over yet. But Anthony Edwards in front of our eyes the last 12 to 13 months, you're watching him take over the NBA, and it's a blast. This arena was absolutely bonkers tonight. Fans felt the energy. The Wolves missed like 16 shots at the rim, too. So for a while, it was like, man, how many self-inflicted ways can you bury yourself every time you get the thing back within 4 or 6? You miss a layup, Lakers go back the other way. But my biggest takeaway is Anthony Edwards, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Edwards.
I also think it's cool, too, Dex, just quick. I also think it's cool that Friday, Game 3, and then today, Game 4, the Robin was different. Friday night, it was Jaden, right? Had a great game, fantastic game. Ant tried to basically deflect all the credit to him. Today, Julius Randle was absolutely great. So that's the other thing that we've talked about for, like, the Wolves have this depth to them. They've got different guys that can actually back Ant up. And Ant is the most important player, don't get me wrong. But the reality is this. You've got to have somebody firing on all or near all cylinders. And in back-to-back games, it's been a different guy, but it's absolutely worked. Sorry, Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, it's incredible watching them melt in the final 4 minutes of games so many times throughout the regular season for the fact of them that show up. Because, look, Luka and LeBron were throwing everything at them. LeBron getting to the line a ton. Didn't have a point, right, in the fourth quarter and was still disrupting things and making things happen and blocking shots. And obviously the foul that's reviewed or the ball that he thinks he steals and swipes away from Ant's hand ends up coming back and being a foul. But you saw Luka and LeBron throwing all the haymakers, and for the majority of it, the Wolves were trailing in this game, and they'd be right there, but then, Lakers would be able to take things over a little bit and still keep it on the driver's side. And then in the last 4 or 5 minutes of this game, the Nas shot was huge, and Julius, hulked up out of nowhere, man, and that was awesome. Like, we've seen it at times, so it's not completely surprising to see him have a performance like that, but he also is a very good he's a player that people like to punch down on, just like to do with Gobert with the lack of playoff success. And for him, I think, to also have that type of playoff moment in front of Luka, in front of LeBron against his former team was awesome to see.
Yeah, Randle had the 7 turnovers in that first game, and it's like, oh man, the playoff Julius is back. But he has been a bulldog, and there's so many fun tactical X's and O's things to get into here, but there's also just like the emotional, energetic part of the playoffs and the swings, and like Julius Randle injected life into this arena and into his team, offense and defense, a number of times tonight, where he'd bully his way in for a big layup to bring him back within 4 or 6, thump his chest all the way back down the court. Like, the Wolves are, I said this to the guys before, just kind of roaming around, like Judd and Kyle roaming around during shoot around. The Wolves have been very businesslike. Like last year against the Suns, I think even the Wolves weren't quite sure. Yeah, nice week of practice, nice week of, scouting the film, but they got smoked 3 times in the regular season against the Suns. And so there was a little bit of maybe insecurity. Anthony Edwards had not won a playoff series yet. And then you do what you did to the Suns in 4 games. And then you build that confidence against the Nuggets. I feel like the Wolves, contrary to what the national narrative and perception was going into the ESPN had 10 panel experts, quote unquote, all pick the Lakers, right? I think the Wolves have thought from the get-go, from like the day that this series was announced, oh yeah, we're winning this in 5 or 6. They're not as deep as us. They're not as big as us. They're not as physical as us. Yes, the Luka LeBron factor. How many times tonight it is like, well, the Wolves are about to finally break this thing open, then Luka hits a ridiculous shot, or LeBron gets to the free throw line. But just kind of being around the team and observing the series, the Wolves feel like they are the better team and feel like they should close this out in 5 or 6 games. That's another big takeaway.
I think what Julius brings too is, and Ant has always had this, but I haven't felt like the team did. I think Julius, because of his toughness, brings a swagger that is absolutely necessary this time of year. And so, like, what he has, to your point, is he's going down the court, thumping his chest. He isn't afraid of anyone. Like he's not afraid of LeBron. But this team just feels far more, and it shouldn't be surprising, prepared for this than it probably was a year ago. But let's go back to the starting point. The Wolves are a better team. Like
They are.
Luka and LeBron are great players, but the Wolves are, I think what the national folks missed out on, because, they probably don't watch a ton of Wolves games, the Wolves are flat out, and this is not like, this should not be like, oh my God, the Wolves are a better team. The Wolves are a team that they're deeper, I think, because of that, the talent, and again, I think there's a national perception that Ant is a scorer and nothing else. And Ant has shown time and time again now that he can also find guys, secondary assists. So I do think that there was a major portion of what the Wolves are about that was slept on and completely missed. So I am not shocked by this. Like, this was a great game, but I also can't say, oh my God, I thought the series would be done by now, because that would be a lie. The Wolves are a very good team.
I want to ask you guys, let's get into favorite things about this game. My favorite thing about this game was when the Wolves were trailing in the second quarter, Anthony Edwards started getting physical with LeBron James on 2 or 3 straight possessions, like a press coverage cornerback on a big physical wide receiver at the line of scrimmage. It was almost to the point where, and he did draw a foul, or I thought he was purposefully trying to draw a foul or a technical to like send a message of some kind. And then he spent the next 10 or 15 minutes, every possession and chance he got, barking at the Lakers bench, because Ant started then getting into the flow, hit a couple big shots, and he's just barking at the Lakers bench. So I loved him just kind of getting up in LeBron's grill, kind of the same thing he did with Durant last year, which is because they love each other and they were clowning around together, in games 2 and 3. But he also wants, from a competitive standpoint, to rip their souls out. So my question to you is, what did you guys think of Anthony Edwards kind of stepping up to LeBron James physically at times tonight?
That's what a captain does, right? Well, like that's what you look for. He knows when it's time to bear down, and he was going to show everyone, the Lakers, the entire building, the entire country, that the Wolves weren't going away. And it was interesting that if the complaint about the Wolves is, and it should be to reference the stats that you used about their inside struggles, the Lakers, every time it felt like they were about to sort of put the dagger in, right? They would miss a shot, and the Wolves would come right back and score. And so I really do think, again, I think it goes back to a swagger. I think it goes back to a confidence. These guys know that they're good. They know that they can beat the Lakers. And most importantly, I also think that they know that simply winning in the first round is not enough. But, yeah, I will give you this comment here about JJ. The first
Can you read it for the audience?
Yep. So the Lakers became the first team, and JJ's the first coach in the play-by-play era to play 5 players for an entire half in the playoffs. James, Doncic, Reeves, Hachimura, and Finney-Smith played the entire second half. And that's my favorite thing, though, because this is what we thought. Like, this is exactly what we thought. Like, okay, you got two great players. You've got 3 potential great players. 2 are first ballot Hall of Famers. But the reality is this. By the end of that game, and I think for a large portion of the final quarter, Luka's legs were gone.
Dude,
they were gone.
We were kind of like elbowing each other out of the timeout. The Lakers, I think there was 3 or 4 different timeouts in the fourth quarter, either like a review or actual timeouts, where, okay, that starting 5 that started the second half got to at least get a breather for 2 or 3 minutes. TV goes to commercial. And coming out of all of those timeouts in the fourth quarter, Luka, after the timeout, was hunched over, grabbing his shorts and sucking air. So, yeah, we were kind of wondering, we've never seen this happen. Like, 0 subs in a basketball game for an entire half. And you noticed it at the end. There was times where Luka had a hard time even getting the ball to half court because the Wolves were up pressuring. I thought the refs missed an 8-second violation on one of the Lakers' possessions. And it's just like, to Judd's point, this was what we've been talking about since the beginning of the series. The Wolves have more lineup levers to pull. There's some nights where it's a Rudy night, and Rudy's a super impactful player. Tonight, he missed 6 shots at the rim and was getting cooked, couldn't grab a rebound for chunks. Okay, so let's close with the Naz Reid, Julius Randle offensive combo, Dante DiVincenzo. The Wolves could, let's bring Terrence Shannon Jr. in for a few minutes when guys are in foul trouble. The Lakers showed tonight in an act of desperation, quite frankly, because less than 48 hours between games on the road, they showed they only trust 5 of their players. We thought that might be the case going into the series, and JJ Redick showed tonight in historic fashion by not subbing anyone in the second half. And I think in his mind it was, let's empty the tank, get the W, even the series, and then figure out the rest coming back home. We got 2 or 3 home games. It may have backfired because I don't know what their next play is, other than like LeBron and Luka just having Hall of Fame performances for the next 3 consecutive games.
You have to probably wonder, with Luka having the food poisoning or whatever, the stomach bug situation. I don't know if it was technically food poisoning. Regardless, he had a stomach bug on Friday, so that's a problem. And now they get 3 days off, right? Because Game 5's not until Wednesday. I do wonder with the back-to-back of them just being gassed. Like, they don't have any bench. They have to play these starters the entire time. So I think a lot of people thought going into this series, can you withstand, the jabs and the haymakers that are going to come from Luka and LeBron? And for 95% of this game, the Lakers were ahead by anywhere between 8 to 12 points for the majority of this thing. Yep. And then eventually they wore down because it's hard to play 48 straight minutes. So I do wonder with an extra break, like, do they come back and maybe steal Game 5 and on their home court and make this a 6-game series? Maybe. But them also having back-to-back games and Luka being sick, this just shows the Wolves' depth coming up huge.
And if I would have told you guys, hey, before the series starts, by Game 4, the Lakers are going to be relegated to playing LeBron James and Luka Doncic each 46 minutes. They're going to be relegated to playing 2 of their other rotation players 41 minutes, but specifically LeBron and Luka are going to have to play 46 minutes each by the time Game 4 rolls around. Who wins the series? I think I would have said Timberwolves in 5 or 6.
Yes.
Here's another question for you guys. Before the series started, we ranked the top 10 players, or I ranked them and you guys kind of critiqued and judged them. The top 10 players in the series. And I said Luka number 1, LeBron out of respect number 2, Anthony Edwards would like to see you take one of those spots. If you had to re-rank the players in the series right now, Judd, who's the number 1 player in the series?
I think number 1 is Ant. I think number 2 is LeBron. I think 3 is Doncic. And here's the interesting one, though, because I'm going to drop this guy just based on the 4 games, Austin Reeves, who had 17 tonight, 5 of 12 from 3. So he was fine tonight, but he has not been consistent, and he has not been – I thought for sure that this thing would go at least 6 games because – Luka, LeBron, and Reeves were going to be firing pretty consistently on all cylinders. Well, I was wrong. Reeves has not been. And so that's the thing is, okay, now you've gone from 3 potential star players to 2 star players. But, yeah, if you're just going to ask me to re-rank them based on what I've seen, Ant's 1, LeBron's 2. And look, the LeBron performance on Friday was phenomenal. Quite frankly, the LeBron performance tonight for the man's age is incredible. Yeah. But, it has definitely changed, and I think it does help a ton that Austin Reeves, if you did the rankings right now, would probably be 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I would put Julius above him for sure. And then Jaden McDaniels has had a better series than Austin Reeves. And Jaden had a couple huge, he was involved in that steal at half court on the inbounds pass with whatever it was, 35 seconds to go. So just, man, it's kind of amazing now that 4 games have played out, just how obvious it is that the Timberwolves are the better team over the Lakers. But you still have to close out LeBron James and Luka Doncic here by winning 1 more game. So we can't get too far ahead of ourselves with this.
How similar at this point in time does this feel now to the Suns' first round series last season? Because I feel like I didn't think that last game here before the playoffs, like people get way into, they beat you in a regular season game at the end of the season, you're dead. I didn't get into that. But, it's funny. You watch Ant, and he sort of takes it to these old guys or these teams that are not as deep. And the supporting cast, Reeves here, but, there were certainly a few guys from the Suns, supporting cast guys, last year who didn't play great. And it has the same feeling that it's so easy to sleep on the Wolves, but Ant is such a dynamic talent overall. And quite frankly, too, you know what else? Credit Chris Finch. Chris Finch is doing a great job right now, I think.
He is. He got that technical. That was kind of, I can't decide if that was irresponsible or if it worked, and it kind of fired everybody up. Plenty more to get to here. There's some, man, I feel like I have 600 words of just half-baked notes from this game that we should. There's
crying for a Mackie Gobert critique right now. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, he was
in the chat. So,
yeah, I mean, he was. Well, I'll give you one right here. So the biggest reason why the Timberwolves didn't win this game by 12 points or more, they were 12 for 27 at the rim. The Wolves missed 15 shots at the rim tonight. That's a 40. So the 12 for 27, 44% at the rim. That's the second percentile of rim accuracy performances on the year. Like, it was legitimately. And then, by the way, they were. They only took, I guess, one sort of restricted area shot. So they were 12 for 27 in the restricted area, which is one of the worst performances all year long. And Rudy was a huge part of that. Rudy missed 5 of those. Just, he had some turnovers. He had some classic Rudy moments in this game. And then he had the foul on LeBron that turned into a flagrant. It was a good night to limit his minutes to 26 and to give Naz Reid the closing stretch minutes. And, it's crazy too, like DiVincenzo. So DiVincenzo's had a bad offensive series. He did have a big bucket late on that drive to the rack, but he came in. So he was 3 of 11 tonight. He came into the game 9 for 26. So he's 12 for 35 in the series, shooting like 34% in the series with only, let's see here, 4 made threes in 4 games. We've yet to really have like that. I mean, Dante with the Knicks last year in the playoffs against the Pacers was cooking. Like, he had games where he was pouring in 35, 38 points. So there's still some levers. Like, Nickeil Alexander-Walker hasn't had a great series by most measurements. And yet, on the flip side, the Lakers have had a game, like a throwback LeBron game in Game 3, where he has the second highest scoring output in 5 years of playoff games. Wolves win that game. And then tonight, LeBron gets to the line, 18 free throw attempts, and the Lakers shoot 40% on high volume 3. They got 47 3-point attempts up, which is very Boston Celtics like, and they made 40% of those, and they lost. So it's like in these games where the Lakers are doing things that, boy, that's going to be tough to beat a team that's shooting 47 threes and making 40% of them just from a math standpoint. And boy, it would be tough if we had a LeBron throwback game, and the Wolves have beat them on both those nights, which is obviously a great sign for closing out the series. Because I don't know that they're going to come back. Like, the Lakers are due for a major dud performance from the 3-point line. And if that happens, Judd, the Wolves are going to blow them out in Game 5. If the Lakers come out and shoot like 25% from 3, you're going to have Luka Garza playing the final 4 minutes of a closeout game in LA. I'm just telling you.
What is the alternative now, though, too, as far as a little bit going back to the drawing board for the Lakers, as far as, like, who else are you going to play now? Like you benched your entire team, basically, aside from the 5 guys, for the entire second half, and it's not necessarily a young team. So I guess my question is, what are they going to change now? Like there's nobody. I mean, Jackson Hayes started, I believe he played 4 minutes in the entire game. So what is the next lever to flip? Because I don't know that exists. Now, that doesn't mean that LeBron and Doncic can't have huge games, but we're sort of seeing that at times, and they're still losing.
Yeah, I mean, Dalton Connect has given them some really good regular season minutes at times. So I guess you could try that, but it really is going to be about LeBron James and Luka Doncic. I think what the Lakers would say too is, our process tonight had us a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, and if we can continue that process, we're probably going to win 8 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10. But I would argue, as would you, based on our off-mic conversations, part of the reason you were outscored 32-19 in the fourth quarter is because you didn't sub anybody you literally didn't sub anyone for an hour and a half of real time, and you didn't give anyone even a 30-second break. There were times, remember, like back in the day in LeBron's prime with Cleveland, like the second time around 9 years ago, when he'd have these 45, 46 minute, sometimes like 47 minute performances, and they'd still find a way to sneak like 30 seconds in, get him a possession, get him a couple extra minutes. So Yeah. Okay. More things to get to here. Live from Target Center, Flagrant Howls. We got producer Declan holding it down back in his home studio. A shout out to my bookie for making this incredible sports season even more fun to engage with.
Sports Dad is going to tell you something incredible right now, folks, and it's this. This game could have been even more fun. And you're saying, hold on a second. Are you kidding? This was a great game. How could it be more fun? I'm going to tell you my bookie can make this game more fun. I'm not joking. Live odds, alt props, playoff props. That's right. Get a sweat on a game on which you're sweating. Are you kidding me? It's absolutely fantastic. Go to mybookie.ag and use the promo code Flagrant Howls to bet the NBA playoffs. And in particular, if you're a Wolves fan, heck, bet these games. In fact, I'd bet Game 5. I'd say this right now. I think that it's going to be Wolves. Deposit $50 to get an extra $25, or go up top with a $100 deposit, and my bookie will throw in $50. That's right. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with my bookie. Can you imagine this game having been more fun, Phil? It could have been with my bookie.
That's right. Hey, wow, there's literally 4,500 people in here right now simultaneously watching live on YouTube. If you haven't already, click that like button and the subscribe button on the Score North YouTube channel. Maybe you're just discovering us here and Flagrant Howls. We've got Purple Daily. We've got the Score North Twin Show. Judd's Hockey Show is rocking post-game shows here. So we are your home for daily Minnesota sports content, entertainment. Guys, let's keep going through. I'll throw it back to Dex here. Just let's keep going through some of our favorite things, I guess, from this Game 4 win.
So it's a favorite thing, but it's more like also a question for probably you guys and even like some bigger hoop heads. But so they have basically won 3. I mean, they've won 3 of the 4 games. And for the most part, Rudy's been a non-factor, right? Like at least maybe offensively just on some of the box score stuff, because there are things that he does that disrupt things. We saw that, him holding down Doncic earlier in this series. I thought going into this, and I think I more wanted this just to happen so the clowning and the ridicule and the punching down stops, but like they've basically controlled this with Rudy Gobert being a non-offensive factor. What do we make of what Rudy Gobert maybe hasn't brought, but it still winds up with wins for the Wolves?
Yeah, I will say, on the negative side, you're 100% right. I thought he was going to be able to feast a little bit more around the rim on offense, just get those big hands up there, almost like a roving second backboard, right? And the Lakers have done a great job with that defensive shell, even though they don't have the height advantage, of just kind of packing it in and making it hard for the Wolves at the paint, in the paint and at the rim. So that part of the offense, that especially that Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert kind of pick and roll, the little floater, the lobs, like that's been zilch all series for the Timberwolves. But I will keep pointing to, and the rebounding at times has been, Rudy did get his mitts on a few of them tonight. But I will say, to his credit in the series when he's been out there, he has really limited the Lakers' frequency of shooting inside the restricted area and the paint. The Lakers have settled for a lot of longer shots in this series, and they've had a couple games where they've been lights out. The last 2 games, the Lakers have hit their long shots and their threes. But Rudy's presence has deterred the Lakers from going inside a lot. So you can't – I get it. Like, he hasn't been great. There's been some lowlights. Hell, dude, Chris Finch got booed with 3:30 left in the fourth quarter, and the Wolves went on like a 10-0 run or whatever it was with Naz Reid leading the charge on offense. And Finch subbed in Rudy Gobert during Lakers free throws and then the ensuing Wolves defensive possession. And the crowd booed him for taking Naz out and putting Rudy back in. Now, Chris Finch was playing next level chess because he knew they had to call you got 3 timeouts left. You can only carry 2 of them inside the 3-minute mark. So he was going to use Rudy for 1 defensive possession, which he did, and then call timeout. But yeah, it hasn't been the biggest Conley series, hasn't been the biggest Rudy series, but Rudy does have a hidden impact on just where the Lakers take their shots more than what shows up in the box score.
Offensively, I think what looks bad too, though, and Gobert goes through stretches like this, and I don't know if it's a lack of involvement or what, but he looks very passive offensively. And I'll give you a example. I think it was in the second quarter tonight. There were back-to-back. He basically had the ball from the dunker spot, and he put up this weak attempt, got it back, and then tried to lay it up and in again.
Dude,
And it's just
Dunk
like,
it.
dude, you're huge.
Dunk
You're
it.
enormous. Just go dunk it. But it feels like there are times where, and I think this is where he gets clowned, where he gets offensively passive, and it's like he doesn't know his role or something. And so those are like that sequence I thought looked really bad. Like it looked really bad. It's like, what are you doing? But yes, we can't. It is, as we've discussed a lot before, it's hard to quantify his defensive effort because it often affects the game in different ways.
Yeah. Let me throw another favorite thing out. So Judd and I both, we got to the arena, I don't know, 2.5 hours before tip off or whatever it was to catch the pregame press conferences. And your old colleague from the Star Tribune, he's been at NBA.com for 15, 20 years, Steve Ashburner, was a beat writer for the Star Tribune covering the Kevin Garnett era throughout the late 90s, early 2000s. Just one of the grizzled, legendary NBA writers who still has ties to the Twin Cities. And Ash teed up the first question to Chris Finch because there's been a lot of talk. Credit to Alan Horton for his Anthony Edwards free throw tweet before the game that Ant didn't get to the line in game 3. He's had X amount of drives, and like the gap between the drives to the rim and the free throw attempts is ridiculous. Whereas LeBron James, anytime anyone essentially brushes his shorts as he's going through the lane, like gets to the free throw line, right? So Ashburner asked Chris Finch, hey, how have the Lakers done such a great job defending Anthony Edwards without fouling? Knowing exactly what he was doing with that question. And Finch goes, well, they haven't. He's just not getting a whistle. Well, tonight, Anthony Edwards, there were some times where, all right, maybe he didn't get the benefit, but 17 free throw attempts for Anthony Edwards in this game, 14 of 17, including the closing 2 that put the Wolves up by 3. So Finchy sending a message to the NBA officiating office with his pregame comments. And I'm sure they had something to say behind the scenes as well, off microphone. They were definitely calling some fouls to send Anthony Edwards to the free throw line.
I'll give you one too that I loved, and it was a very short period of time, but it was great. So in my youth, the bad boy Pistons had a guy came off the bench, Vinnie Johnson, a.k.a. the microwave. And Nas was the microwave. Like, he didn't have a big game, but when he came off the bench there and knocked down those threes, first of all, the building exploded because the guy is loved, which is great. But more importantly, it swung the game. And that was such a huge, monumental thing because it was outside the scope of Ant, who participated, but obviously didn't have to knock those threes down. So I thought the Nas minutes and I thought the Nas late clutch time surge was absolutely outstanding.
Yes. Yep. It was, that the surge at the end, man. And there was a couple times during last year's playoffs, game 1, I think, against the Mavericks, where he had a chance to hit the game-winning three-pointer, and I think that really bothered him, that he clanked it and stuck with him. And tonight, he had a couple dagger shots that swung that game. A few other things from my notes in the favorite category. So Austin Reeves got his 3rd foul with 10 minutes left in the second quarter, and the Lakers lost the challenge, and that was because they're thinking – It was a borderline call. He's our 3rd best player. If he winds up on the bench with 3 fouls, 10 minutes remaining in the first half, that's a problem. So I get why they used their last challenge on it, but they lost it. And the Wolves, credit to them, they go on a major run to get the game back within reach. But the Lakers blew all their challenges before the halfway mark of the second quarter. The Wolves hung on to a challenge and got to overturn the call on LeBron James at the end of the game. So, and I'll raise my hand here watching this. I was elbowing Kyle about 5 times. The Wolves should challenge that. The Wolves should challenge that. Like second quarter, third quarter, to save that challenge for. It's like saving timeouts almost in the NFL for a higher leverage spot in a physical game where you might need to overturn something. Turned out to be a really savvy move by Chris Finch and company.
In a game like this, I think it is absolutely the smartest thing to save one. Absolutely. Because if you get the call, that's great. And yes, it can sway things on the scoreboard. But yeah, that challenge and the fact that it went against the Lakers and James in particular was absolutely huge. I mean, if that doesn't happen, there's more time left. Ant doesn't get to the free throw line. So yeah, that was again, I think Finch has had, to his credit, a really good coaching series. Like, I think he's done a very good job as far, for the most part, rotations go, challenges go, timeouts go. It has been, JJ Redick is very good. I do think that. He's a very smart guy, and I do think that he is a very technically sound coach. But Chris Finch has met him punch for punch, if not won that side. And coaching in the playoffs, for sure, in this league can 100% affect games.
Yeah, and I think JJ would probably push back and say, "Okay, give me that roster, or at least give me those 3 dudes off the bench and watch what I can do coaching wise." What did Judd? You were in there for salty JJ's pregame press conference. What did you make of his temperament pregame?
His tone leads me to believe that he basically knows everything that we're talking about.
Yeah,
the Doncic trade obviously created this perception, right? Oh man, it's Luka and LeBron, unstoppable. But the reality is, it's not yet. And so I think JJ is smart enough to know that if he was back on First Take debating Stephen A about the Lakers' chances against the Wolves, JJ would heavily say, Stephen A, with all due respect, the Timberwolves are a better team, and they have an infrastructure that is far more developed than the Lakers right now. Now, I think the Lakers, in a couple of years, James might be gone, but with the right draft picks and certainly probably at some point in time a very big impact free agent signing, I think the Lakers could be a nightmare. But we're not there yet, and I sense that JJ's tone sort of said, I know we're up against it here. Yeah. And then hell, man, when you're playing those 5 guys the entire fourth quarter, like that's basically a throwing up your arms admission of, well, if they can't win it, we're not going to win. So we might as well try that.
It's crazy. Another thing here, add this to the large phone book stack of favorite things from this game. The end of the first quarter, there was a huge sequence where the Lakers were already up by 10 points. Luka misses a layup. So the Wolves throw the ball away. Luka comes down in transition, misses a layup for the Lakers to go up by 12. Ant comes back in transition, hits a bucket. So instead of it being Lakers by 12, it's now Lakers by 8. And then Ant comes down the next possession after a Lakers miss, hits a 3. Now it's a 5-point game. And then as Luka's trying to run down the clock to get the last shot of the first quarter, Dante DiVincenzo picks his pocket. So Ant was crowding him up against the half-court line. Dante comes in from behind, picks his pocket, gets the ball to Ant, who got fouled. He missed one of the free throws, but then the Wolves are down by 4 going into the – so it could have been – this is all within the last minute of the first quarter. It could have been Lakers by 12. Turned out to be Lakers by 4, and it just kept things a little closer, a little more manageable until the Wolves finally made their big run in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter.
In a game of runs, it felt like there were about 2 or 3 of those very situations where if Doncic, and he missed some short bunnies, like he missed some shots, still had a statistically very good game, but there were about 3 of those where I thought, okay, the Lakers are going to dagger him now. Like this is going to be it, and they missed the shot, and then to the Wolves' credit, they bounced back and scored, and so now instead of 12 or instead of 10 or instead of 15, it goes down to 8. The game was, from both sides, from both standpoints, it was interesting because nobody could pull away, but the game, because of that, remained manageable for both sides all the way through. But that gets back to the funniest thing about the Wolves being so inept in clutch time previously, and in the last 2 games, they have been absolutely cold-blooded. Like that to me is such an interesting storyline because this team that couldn't shoot straight, that would trip over itself, the last 2 games, on a national stage in very important games has basically just daggered. It's pretty interesting.
Yes. I mean, yes, I'm so glad you brought this back up because this has been the biggest regular season issue for the Timberwolves all year. They weren't great in clutch time last year, even with Cat and the old iteration of this team. So this has been a 2-year running problem where they've been like bottom third of the league or bottom 5 or 6 in net rating clutch time inside 5 minutes, 5 points or fewer. But Anthony Edwards becomes a different, more focused player in the playoffs. Also, this coaching staff has done a brilliant job scouting within a series. Sometimes the regular season, it's just a 6-month conveyor belt of games and cities, and But when you lock into a 7-game series, everything gets micro-examined. And it feels like the Wolves coaching staff has risen to the occasion in multiple different series here the last couple of years. And Anthony Edwards specifically as a playmaker, the patience, the assist totals. He had that huge play with under a minute left, like 55, 56 seconds left. And the Wolves at this point were, I think, down by 2. Yeah, it was down by 2 with like 50, 55 seconds left. Wolves get the ball past the half-court line. Anthony Edwards gets blitzed, double-teamed again. The last 2 games, the Lakers are like, no more, dude. We're going to make you be a playmaker. So he navigates the double. He finds Naz in the paint, and Naz finds Jaden for the layup in the and one. That doesn't go down in the box score as an assist, although NBA.com has the hockey assist, the secondary assist. Anthony Edwards led the NBA in that statistic, the secondary assist. So is he perfect? Does he still make some mistakes? Does he still take some heat check shots that maybe he shouldn't? Yes, but he has really minimized the bad and the reckless in the playoffs the last couple of years while maximizing the playmaking, the dissecting of the defenses. And it's just been fun to watch him solve this Rubik's Cube last year and this year now. And, man, if they close out LeBron, I mean, LeBron's one of the highest IQ players in the history of the league. And Anthony Edwards is out dueling him in the biggest moments of these last couple of games from a playmaking standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely is. And the key thing too to the play that you're talking about is they're shutting off the lights. Leave those lights on for us. The key thing too was this is the Jaden now. I guess it could be referred to as playoff Jaden. So this is the Jaden who's right there, gets the and one. Like it's so interesting to watch, and I don't know if it's the time of year or just a natural progression. I think with Jaden, it might be a progression, but it's so interesting to watch them or him evolve, right? Because like he's right where he should be. He gets the foul. There was no sweat from this team, I didn't think, when there could have been. Like everybody sort of knew where they were supposed to be. There was a cool, calm, and collected assassin type of approach that I thought was really refreshing because let's just say that that's not, I think, what us sports fans here in the state are necessarily used to. We're used to watching the assassins beat our teams, not for our teams to be the assassins.
Yeah. Let's do just to round it out here. Let's do at least one quick round of least favorite thing from. There's not a very long list, but least favorite thing.
Dex, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. I would say for me, just the whole Rudy Gobert not being an offensive threat, not, and also the foul, the elbow into the head. I'm guessing you guys saw the replay of that in the arena.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they obviously showed that, right? Like, and that type of stuff, like, just can't happen either. I was not a big fan of that. So that's certainly one of them. You know, it's when Ant hulks up and scores 43, and Dante has not obviously hit some offensive shots, but he has like 5 steals tonight. And he just brings the energy, and there's things that are quantifiable just from an eye test standpoint that are really, really good there. But just Rudy, don't lose your cool, man. Like, don't lose your cool, especially against LeBron. Like, you know who's going to get the benefit of the doubt more times than not in those situations.
Yeah, that was dumb too because I mean that was just a clear. Now he did get checked a little bit, but I mean it's a playoff game. Yeah. Mine is a very small nit, but it's a continuing nit too. I know that it probably hurt when Ant's ankle got turned when he and LeBron were diving for the loose ball, and then Ant stayed down for what felt like forever before a trainer got. I don't get that one, but here's my.
Oh, it's because they don't want to burn a timeout. If the trainer comes out, you have to call a timeout.
Well, he just laid there.
Did trainer Joe Ingles come out there as well to check on him like he always
Joe
does?
Ingles, Joe Ingles definitely was the trainer conduit. He was the closest.
He was hammering like what types of drinks too? Like he had a can of something.
Little Foster's in there.
That's a can of something too. It's not like a bottle. It's a can. But anyway, this is frequent with Ant. I don't like when Ant goes down because he tends to just like writhe. Like you're like, oh my god, something's really wrong here. Like he laid there motionless. It's
Dude,
like.
But that looked so painful. That's a 255-pound human absolutely collapsing into your ankle.
But then the best part about Ant is he bounces right up and he just walks. I mean, he barely limped off. So anyway, I get a little bit concerned when the Wolves' superstar player every once in a while crumbles to the court, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be 6 months. But fortunately, it's not. It wasn't. It all worked out fine.
Yeah, Conley too. Conley tweaked something too late in that game, which is something to keep an eye on. I would say I got 2 things on my list of least favorite things. One of them's going to be an officiating related thing, so I'll do that second, I guess. The 14-0 run by the Lakers to start the second half. I'm sorry, like that can't happen. Being down 35-16 or 35-18 or whatever it is after the first quarter of was that game 2? That can't happen. Like the Wolves are, I get it's LeBron, it's Luka, whatever. Like they're going to go on some runs, but the 14-0 stuff where your lead evaporates and then you're down by 10 before the TV timeout, you got to clean some of that stuff up. Maybe the Lakers tweaking their lineup out of the half compared to what they started with is what threw the Wolves off. I don't know. They were just bombs away from 3. And then the other thing is, and I hate complaining about this, but when you watch these games, the 4 games in the series, and then tonight especially, it's so evident the benefit of the doubt LeBron gets, especially from the officials, not just the mild contact that he draws that turns into a trip to the free throw line every time. There was a couple times tonight where like a possession or a play or a call wouldn't go LeBron's way. And there was one in particular, he took the ball, threw it over his shoulder down to the other end of the court. First of all, that's a technical foul for a lot of players. Yeah. Minimum, it's a delay of game. Nothing. And then Luka does the same thing. I think it was in the third quarter where, something doesn't go his way. He's literally laying down at half court and he takes the ball and shoots a push shot from his ass that hits off the shot clock and like bounces into the crowd. Again, that's a technical foul on some players. At minimum, it's a delay of game, and the officials give those guys so much leeway. And with Luka in particular, he does foul bait a lot. LeBron does a little foul baiting, but Luka, when he gets tired too and he knows he can't blow by a guy, he'll foul bait. And officials fall for it, man. So I just had to get that off my chest. I hate being complains about officiating guy, but it was so evident at times tonight. And then, hell, go back to game 1. No fouls for an hour of real time until the 4-minute mark of the second quarter. Just I feel like officials look at Luka and LeBron and they're just like in awe, or I don't know what it is. I don't think it's a conspiracy or it's like the league mandating something, but it is very, very evident.
When I think it was the late review that the Timberwolves triggered on the ant ball that was going to go to the Lakers and then ultimately didn't, if I'm not mistaken, when the referee announced the ruling, which went against James, but he announced LeBron by his first name. Like, I dare you to go back and find a first name basis, like, Anthony. Yeah, exactly.
It's on Alexander Walker is what they would say.
Yeah, and they always say it's on Edwards. And literally the official said LeBron. So, it means nothing, but I did find it to be funny because I don't think I've ever heard a guy with his first name used.
We were all kind of half joking, I guess, that when they were reviewing that call, it was like they showed it a million times in the arena. Very obvious that LeBron slapped Anthony Edwards on the wrist, but you could maybe make a case that it was the high part of the hand, and hand is part of the ball. But it was, he got him on the wrist, and we were talking. The review was taking way longer than you thought it would. And in that moment, you're like, we're about to find out if the NBA is actually rigged, if these guys have their thumb on the scales or not, because this should be a shooting foul for Anthony Edwards, and it was.
It's the league calling. No foul.
Yeah.
Adam Silver here. Don't call that a foul.
So, all right, I think that's going to be a wrap here on this Game 4 post-game recap. Wolves beat the Lakers in dramatic fashion, 116-113. The Wolves once again outduel the Lakers and LeBron James and Luka Doncic in clutch time. That's 2 games in a row where either the Wolves were losing or the game was tied entering the final 5 minutes, and the Wolves hit the gas pedal as Anthony Edwards looks to close out a couple other future Hall of Famers here. Any final words from you guys before we say goodnight from Target Center?
It was just it's awesome to see this come to fruition. It's last year was not a fluke by any means for the Wolves, and we've seen time and time again in just all of Minnesota sports of teams not living up or closing things out. And look, the Wild and Knights game last night was awesome. It was back and forth, and they certainly can still move on. But we all know the problems with the Twins that have had in the playoffs. Vikings, same thing. It's nice to see. It's refreshing to see a Minnesota sports team rack up playoff wins, man. And like the environment, obviously, you guys were in there tonight. It was sweet. We typically get our hopes crushed and we get up too high. And I guess that was a fun season. That's it. Dude, the Wolves are a game away from beating LeBron and Luka. So I think it's just awesome that a Minnesota sports team is finally being able to come through when they're being asked to.
I've been fortunate enough the past 2 days to have been at the Wild game in St. Paul yesterday and then tonight. And just another shout out to Minnesota sports fans.
Yeah.
Because they bring it. I mean, both buildings have been, you can't hear yourself think at times, and it's just fantastic. And it's just so cool to see because, if nothing else, sports fans in this town deserve this, don't they? Like, they deserve something like this. And I know that the Wild lost, but that was still an awesome crowd last night.
Yeah. Well, they deserve more than this, too, after, thanks to the Lynx for the only championships that can be celebrated around here. But the more and more you watch Anthony Edwards navigate some of these series and games and mature into his prime, the more it feels like he's going to deliver one at some point. I will say my final thought here, too, is the loudest Laker fans in the building may have been part of the Vikings offensive line room. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to throw anyone directly under the bus, but Judd and I were sitting. The suite behind us was full of, it was like the Vikings offensive line room, and a couple loud Laker fans in there. All right. So you know who you are. I'm not going to out any of them, but they were pretty loud there at times in the early part of the fourth quarter, thinking that this game was going to go in a different direction.
Courtside, right behind the Wolves bench. Here's my question: who was KO? Because O'Connell in the house, who was he rooting for? Was he rooting for
Southern California?
He's a Southern Cal guy. I'd like to know. Like,
he had the Wolves hat on, so we know he was.
Yeah, well, I think Quasi's on board. I'm just saying on O'Connell, he's not going to come out and start like cheering for the Lakers, but he's here with his lovely wife. They got great seats, courtesy obviously of the Wolves. And I just wonder if he's like, Luka, LeBron, let's see it.
This one's for Zach Nusser in the comment section. Just a little visual there.
Okay. He was clapping every time we scored. Okay, good.
No,
good.
Go up the comment before that.
Yeah, I see.
Wait, hold on.
Between me and Zach. Just between me and Zach.
Okay, all right.
Between me and Zach, all right.
All right.
It must be weird, though, just like if you're a Vikings player and you know that most of the 19,000 people in here love you and want you to win your Vikings games, but you guys have different rooting interests in a basketball game. Oh, maybe it's not weird, I guess.
Well, I mean, Cat was a huge Eagles fan, or is, right? Like, he'd be rooting for him when they played the Vikings.
Cat, by the way, tonight, dagger, game-winning three-pointer at the end of that.
Yeah,
so Nick's up 3-1 as well. That trade is working out right now in this moment very well for both those teams. But right now, I'll ask you again, as I have every 2 weeks. Right now, the rest of the playoffs, would you trade Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a first-round pick for Karl Anthony Towns?
Yes, I would make this trade again. I think
no, like in reverse.
Oh, no. I think this trade that Tim Connelly made makes the Timberwolves a better playoff team.
And
I know that. Yeah, and I know the Cat did a great job defensively at times, but there's more swagger here now. It's a deeper team, and we also are getting a playoff Julius that the Knicks didn't get. Like, Dante's play obviously dropping off from a year ago. Julius was hurt, so he didn't play in the playoffs last year. But we are seeing a Julius that we were warned didn't exist.
Yeah, no, he exists. He's been a catalyst. He's been a catalyst, man. So, all right, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us here live at Target Center. Over 4,000 people steadily over the last hour. So, wow, thank you for taking time out of your Sunday here. Super exciting time to be a fan of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Up 3-1 over the Lakers. For producer Dex, for the sports dad Judd, I am Phil. This is your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast, Flagrant Howls.